Hi. In the previous videos, we explored descriptive programming and output values. We pretty much completed those tasks, and in this video, we'll get started with something called functions. This is another very powerful concept of QTP, descriptive programming, and you'll be using these functions a lot throughout your QTP and automation career. Let's try to find out exactly what functions are. Let's try to understand the benefits first of functions. Before we try to understand what is a function, let's look at the benefits. So the benefit of using a function is basically that they are reusable. So functions are reusable. You can reuse them as many times as you want to save time, effort, and afford. So what is a function? Functions are basically a bunch of codes. Codes you can make in many different programming languages. So that's not necessarily in VB scripting or necessarily a QTP concept. It has nothing to do with QTP or VB scripting. The concept of functions is all over the world and all over the different programming languages and different kinds of programming languages. A function is something you can reuse. Basically, you can take some of your task, let's say in this code, in the second descriptive programming script that we have, we launched a browser. So we have written this code for launching a browser, and we have entered this line for entering an email ID, this line for password, and this line for clicking on the login button. Right? So what if I need to perform launching browsers hundreds of times? Over and over in many different scripts, hundreds of times. Well, in this script I have this code. Well, what if I was going to write hundreds or thousands of scripts? Then I have to rewrite it hundreds or thousands of times. So for launching a browser, I have to rewrite this code, which I don't want to do. Because automation is saving us time, and I want to be more lazy. So automation is making us lazy. Computerized systems are making us lazy. And within these lazy systems, we want to become more lazier than what we are right now. So I don't even want to repeat this code for launching the browser over and over. Let's say I'm creating 50 scripts for Facebook.com. These are domain names. Right? So Facebook is a domain. There are different domain names you'll be working on for different applications. So domain names are nothing. You may be asked these types of questions in an interview. Have you ever worked on e-commerce domains or insurance domains? So domains are basically nothing but your application. So if I created 50 scripts for Facebook.com, and I also have to create another 100 scripts for YouTube.com, right? I basically have to copy and rewrite this code over and over and say iexplore.exe, http, facebook.com. I want to save some time. I want to write a code so I can reuse this over and over without typing the whole thing again. So before we go deep into a detailed example of some functions, let's start with a quick and easy example. To create a new function, you need to first click on New, just like you create a new task. And as you can see, a function library. So we store all our functions in a function library. We do not store our functions within the script. It's not a good practice. If you put your function within the script, there's no point because you cannot really use them there. You cannot really reuse them there. So if you create functions and put them in a function library, then you can recall that function library and reuse those functions whenever and wherever you want to. So click on New and New Function Library, and as you can see, a new blank white window has appeared. This is the function library, and right now we don't have any code in this function library. Right? So let me copy this code from here. Actually cut it. Let me just cut it. This is the code for launching the browser. So I paste it in my function library, and I'll try to save it. Let's give it a name, and remember always that the extension for our function is always QFL. .qfl. For our QTP function library is always QFL. So let's name it as my function library .qfl. And I'm going to save it in the C in my documents, QTP. I'll save it in the same location. Well, it doesn't really matter where you save it or what you name it. What name you create the function library with, it's all up to you. So in this function library, I basically copied the code. So now we need to create functions in this function library. To create functions, we need to create codes, which is something like this. Function. And as soon as you press enter or space, you'll see this end function code has come up. So this is a structure of writing a function. If you have seen or watched the conditional statement videos, you'll know that if you write if else, then if you write if, then the end if statement also comes in automatically. QTP does that. Just like those conditional statements, if you start a function, if you write function first, and you have to write end function to end it. So, and in between function and end function, you can write your code. I hope this is clear. So, function, end function, and within this function and end function, I'm going to write my code. This is a basic structure of functions. So in the next video, we'll continue with creating our very first functions.